is up, you guys? Welcome back to my bookish world. I'm Alex, and today I have two dogs. But I'm here to do my September wrap-up. So this month I was planning to read like 10 books. I read 5. Which like I try not to be too mad at myself because like I still read. That's still better than a lot of people do. I just have so many books I want to read. So I read 5 books. And honestly, most of them were like 4 to 5 stars, so that's pretty good. Yeah, and 4 of them were on my physical TBR, so that's even more exciting. Now let's hope during spooky month I can read all my spooky reads. I also did start 2 books during the month of September. Now, I will say, during the month of September, I did start a new job. Not like anything crazy. It's a part-time job at Barnes & Noble as a bookseller, which I love. But who knew that spending your entire day in a bookstore, like 3 to 4 days a week, would exhaust you and not make you want to read? And also, like, I was just trying to get into a new schedule and get into a new swing of things, and that always messes up my reading a little bit. So I'm hoping with October and kind of understanding like when I can get my reading in, even when I'm at work, that hopefully I can do better. So let's get into it. So the first book I read, I started in August, but I finished it in September, is Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. So basically this follows Dani Brown, who is the middle sister between Chloe and Eve. And she is somebody who swears off relationships. But then something happens where this boy, what's his name? Zaf, carries her out of a building where there's a possible emergency, and the video of them goes viral. And so they decide to do this fake dating thing to draw more publicity towards his nonprofit. And obviously a romance strikes from there. Sadie, you want to come say hi? You guys don't see Sadie very often because she usually doesn't come down here. But Dad's my happy girl. Okay, hi. How close can you get? You sit. You sit. Sit. Okay. Sadie's gonna be a part of this video. So yeah, obviously there's a romance. I will say that this was pretty good. The smut was really good. I think I give this one like a 4 or 4.5 stars. I think I liked it a little bit more than Chloe, than Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I just think, I really liked the characters, especially Zaf. I just think he was so much fun, and I loved the, almost like just juxtaposition or the switching of roles, that you see in most society of Dani being somebody who doesn't want a relationship, and wants to screw around, and you have Zaf who does want a relationship and reads romance novels and that kind of stuff. And romance novels, I feel like, are mostly geared towards women, and so it was really nice seeing a character who reads romance novels that isn't a woman. So yeah, 4.5 stars. Next, I read, this one was a really hard one. Next, I read The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan. So basically, if you don't know what this book is about, I'm not going to actually spoil it, because it's the last book in a series in an overarching world. But basically, it follows the god of Apollo, who is cast down from Olympus to live life as a mortal for like a year, I think, from a punishment from Zeus. And so he has to go on these quests, but again, he's mortal. He doesn't have access to his godly powers, and he has to defeat this evil that is coming up in the world. And so, like I said, this was the last book in I'm petting my dog, I'm sorry. This was the last book in the series, in the Percy Jackson world. And we did get to see them, which made me so happy. But yeah, I've been putting this off for like a year since it came out. My excuse was like, I didn't own the book at first, and then I was like, well, I can't read it right now. I have so many other things I want to read. But really, I just didn't want to finish this book, because I knew I would be sad. So needless to say, I gave this book 5 stars. I love anything that Rick Riordan writes. I will read everything he writes. He's just incredible, and I can't wait for his next novel that comes out later this month. Next, I finished Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, which I'm so excited that I finally read. This is another one that I've owned for a while and that I've been telling myself that I would read for so freaking long. But basically this follows this girl named Enchanted who is an up-and-coming singer. She's in high school, and so she auditions at this like X Factor type audition show, and she doesn't get through, but she does meet this famous singer. What's his name? Corey Fields. And Corey Fields, like I said, is this very famous singer, and he takes an interest in Enchanted. So this story really is about how Black women specifically are taken advantage of in the music world. Does that make sense? And just in general, where Corey Fields is this man who is successful and much older than her, and yet he has abused so many girls. And Enchanted is just one of them in one of the stories, and yet these women are not seeing justice. And so while I think this was inspired by different cases like the R. Kelly case as well as other ones that go in, it's not just about that. Like, it is its own unique story, and it's heartbreaking. It's not easy to read, but it's so necessary. And yeah, I gave this a 4.5 stars. I think this is my first book by Tiffany D. Jackson. I have White Smoke somewhere in that pile, the last book in my little pile. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be reading everything she writes from now on because wow. And then I read Stamped, which is, it's like adapted for younger readers versus like Stamped from the beginning. This is Stamped, Anti-Racism and You. And it, originally is by Ibram Zendi, but this was adapted by Jason Reynolds, which I listened to the audiobook, and I believe it is narrated by Jason Reynolds. And this is a book that I adore, and I'm going to suggest for everybody that I know to read because it gives you such a great lesson, but not even like a history lesson. It tells you different things about history, about racism, where it came from, why it still exists, what's happening, but in such an easy and digestible way. And I think this is great for like high schoolers and middle schoolers that maybe want to understand racism, but you know, some of these books that are out about racism are really difficult to understand in the language, and I just think that this one does it perfectly. Even for somebody who's as small-brained as I am and who reads as much as I do, you know, sometimes these books are just a lot. And so I think this one straddles the fun and the serious. And I will read Stamped from the beginning, the full one, at some point, but it was really nice reading this. It was such an easy read. And then the last book that I finished in September, I did start 2 books after this, but the last book that I finished was The Marionettes by Katie Wismer. This is book 1 in her Marionettes series. Book 2 actually comes out in December, so I'm very excited. But basically, this is a paranormal romance, new adult-ish. Basically, this follows this girl, Valerie, who is, a witch? Yeah, blood witch. So she's a blood witch, and she is young. She's, like, probably around my age, actually, like 22, and she is going through these trials to be, why can't I not think? For her initiation into the Marionettes, which is this elite group of witches. But she has to be paired up with a vampire, as does everybody during these initiations, all the witches. And soon enough, some dark secrets get unveiled. This book is incredible. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I would say if you were a fan of like Twilight, I'm trying to think what else. For me, I didn't read Twilight when I was a kid, but I did read like paranormal romances as a young adult. But this book is definitely described like if you love Twilight but you want something older and like smutty. Smutty. It's not super smutty, I will say, yet. Then this book is the book for you. And I totally agree, even though I didn't read Twilight. I definitely think that this is a book that has a lot of heart, and a lot of great things about it that people that loved paranormal romances during their younger years will still love. So yeah, I give it 4 stars. Like I said, I'm really excited for the second book, Wicked Souls. I already have it pre-ordered. And also this cover, stunning. All the books that I read this month had stunning covers. Just the truth. So that's it for my September wrap-up. I will say I did start 2 books. I started Actor H.E. Brown, Battalia Hibbert, which is the last book in the Brown Sister trilogy. The day that I'm filming this and the day that I'm posting this, I'm hoping to finish because I have so many spooky books to read. My dog's like, what is wrong with you? Then I started Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandra Belflor or something. And yeah, that's it. I have an e-arc of that, by the way. It doesn't come out until 2022, but I'll talk more about that in my October wrap-up, hopefully. So yeah, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!